Hi, it's Andy, and today I'm bringing you the A to Z book tag. So I've been tagged in this by Becca. I will tag Becca down below so you can go watch her video. And this is not like a regular book tag, whatever that means. So Becca found this on a blog rather than like on a video format. And it is not A to Z and like you need to find a book start with A through Z. Each letter has its prompts and you give an answer to those prompts. Ta-da, that's how a tag works, Andy. I'm just going to jump right in because I think that is pretty much all the preamble you really need from me. Starting off, of course, at A is an author you've read the most books from. And I think, honestly, it's going to have to be Lindsay Sands. This is book 30-something. Like, these are the books in this series. Like, just in this series. I have several of these books. So I've just checked it and this is book 37. And we get book 38 this year. Or next year, sorry. Yeah, she was doing 2 books a year for a while and then has now since slowed down her writing. But yeah, I have all of her books in this series. I've read all of her books in this series and I don't think there's anybody else on my shelves that comes close to this. Maybe Cassie Clare, maybe Rick Riordan, but you know, we're nearly at 40 in this. B is best sequel ever, and for this I really had a hard time choosing, but I ended up going with Record of a Spaceborne Few by Becky Chambers. I did not know I was going to like these books at all, and then this one just absolutely blew me away. This is about an isolated community on a ship, like the ships that left Earth and they kind of just didn't leave the ships. They created a community on these ships. Now these ships are like cities. Cities huge. Like there are thousands, millions of people on these. And it's a whole community. They do like human composting, which is really exciting. I love that. But there was something about this book that just really... It's the 3rd book in the series, but it just was... Of all of the books that I was looking at, this one is really the one that sort of stuck out to me. Ask me on a different day, I might give you a different answer. On that note, I actually did grab 2, and that is also The Toll by Neil Shusterman. The Scythe series is a series I didn't think I would like at all, and Scythe was fine. Thunderhead was like more interesting, but The Toll, oh my god. Oh my god. This book, absolutely... if you haven't read the Scythe series, I really recommend it. I genuinely didn't. I don't really read fantasy. I have a very limited sci-fi. I don't read that diversely in genre. But oh my god, I love Neil Shusterman's writing and I love his characters, and that you think you know what's happening and you are wrong. And you're wrong. This book absolutely blew my mind as the end of a series. It was just incredible. I do not think he could have done this better, especially with the addition of Gleanings. This book just absolutely blew it out the water. C is currently reading, and that is Lovely Farms by B.K. Borson. As you can see, there is my bookmark. This is the book that I am currently reading. D is drink of choice while reading. For me, I usually drink tea. Like, I am a big tea drinker. Like, I'm not a big tea drinker as in like I have loads of different types of tea. A big tea drinker as in I have huge mugs that I fill with breakfast tea, and I will drink a lot of those cups a day. I mean, also I could say Red Bull because obviously not sponsored, but I am chronically ill and therefore survive on Red Bull. So, but most of the time, like, Red Bull is kind of like functional for me, whereas tea is the one that I sit and enjoy. E is e-reader or physical book. Honestly, I prefer physical books. I have probably as many ebooks on my Kindle app as I do physical books on my TBR, but I just, it's like out of sight, out of mind. If I can't see the books that are in front of me, I forget that they're there and I forget to read them. And also, like, there's just something so nice about staring at a page rather than staring at a screen. I don't know, I just always preferred physical books. I will, like, I love being able to read ebooks in bed and stuff like that. Like if I'm somewhere where I don't have a book, it's great. But preference-wise, like if I like a book that I've read through ebook, I'll then get a physical copy because I just personally prefer physical copies. Also, Amazon can't take physical copies off you, but they can take your ebooks. F is a fictional character you probably would have actually dated in high school. Honestly, this one was really difficult for me. I was like looking around at all these different books. Like I've got so many romance books, and I was looking and I was like thinking about the characters as they are as adults, and then like, but what were they like as teenagers? And I really struggled, I'm not gonna lie. And then I was like, oh, I would totally date this person in high school. And it's like, no. Who would you have actually dated? Like, this is the like preferred, but who would you actually, what's the character that you like? I had to think back to past boyfriends and like who actually fits more into this. And so I chose Isaac from the Casket Girls. I'm not gonna lie to you, I love Isaac. I think he's a great character, but dear God, is the boy an idiot? And does not think sometimes before he acts. This is because this is a young adult, it does lean to more towards that like who you would have dated in high school. But like, this is the one that really like stuck out to me, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. Although in saying that, I'm looking up at my Outlander series and like Jamie Fraser, but you know, we're going to stick with Isaac. He is the quintessential what Andy would have been attracted to in high school. G is glad you gave this book a chance, and for that I've chosen Flawless by Elsie Silver. I saw this book being read by so many people, and I'm going to out myself here. I was looking at them going, romance novels, like, I'm better than that. Not quite like that, but like, you know, that haughty superiority when everybody started reading these, and I was like, and oh my God, past me was a dick. Like, I now have a massive romance collection. Like, I used to be a really big historical fiction reader, but now I've got a massive collection of romance novels, and this series is one of my favourites. Lisa's just read it, and she has blasted through everything Elsie Silver has written, because Elsie Silver is just a fantastic writer, and there's so much you can get from, like, romance has a bad rep, and I fell into that bias hole, basically, and yeah, so if you're thinking about trying something that you think is a bit outside your whatever, just do it. H is Hidden Gem book, and for that, once again, I'm going to be pushing this book at you. Who's Afraid by Maria Lewis. This is a fantastic series. This is a weird one because there are 8 books in this series, but they're also standalones, but there's also a trilogy. So this is a series of standalones that all come together in the end, like the last book fits them all together. But 3 of the books within that series are following Tommy. So Who's Afraid, Who's Still Afraid, Who's Afraid 2. So it's Who's Afraid 2, and Who's Still Afraid follow Tommy. And those are books 1, 2 and 5, 6. 1, 2 and 6 in the series, in like the order that you read them. It makes sense once you read it. I love Tommy Grayson. Tommy Grayson is one of my favourite characters of all time. She is Scottish and Maori, and I absolutely love her sass. I love her attitude. I love the fact that she's this big tough girl, but she has vulnerable moments. I love the way she's written. I love the fact that Maria Lewis has absolutely nailed, and I mean nailed, Scottish banter in this book. Like, this is set in Dundee. I lived in Dundee for several years of my adult life, and I know Dundee really very well. I could follow in my mind like where she was walking, which how often does that happen? I've had 2 other books that I can think off the top of my head where that has happened. One is the Casket Girls book. I've never been to New Orleans, but I did look up Nola on maps and was able to trace the character through the streets in one of the scenes, and also the Mystery at Dunvegan Castle, because I've been to Dunvegan Castle, and so like I was able to. Anyway, yeah. So Maria Lewis is herself. She lives in Australia, but I believe she's Maori. It is a known voices book, written by a woman of colour who also does like a lot of stuff around media and movies and stuff like that. She is honestly so funny, so lovely, and I just love this series, love this book. And last time I checked, there was less than 100 or just over 100 reviews on Goodreads, which is absolutely ridiculous. So I need more people to read this, and I need more people to appreciate this book and this series as a whole. I is an important moment in your reading life. And again, I struggled with this one, but I think for me, it was probably my local library's reading challenge when I was a kid. I don't know if that's how you're meant to answer this, but that kind of stuck out to me as something really important. So when I was growing up, we didn't, like, my mum was at college and working part-time and stuff like that at varying different parts of my childhood, and so I didn't have a lot of books. Like I reread the Narnia series so many times because my granddad had a copy that he would give me. Like I didn't have access to like loads of books. I didn't have access to material things like other people had. Like my mum wasn't able to afford to buy me like PlayStations and like all these different things, Barbie dolls and stuff like that. Like it wasn't that kind of situation growing up, but in saying that, I am very much a bookworm, so like me sitting and reading was fine. Anyway, but my auntie, on my dad's side, was a librarian at my local library, and so every day after school I would go into the library to see my auntie, and I would sit and read. Like sometimes my mum would literally she would literally call the library because I wasn't home yet. And obviously I was a child in primary school, I didn't have a phone. Phones weren't invented by then, like mobile phones. So she would phone the library to talk to my Auntie Lil to be like, is Andy there? And my Auntie Lil would be like, yes, she's there. Mum would be like, could you tell her to get her butt down the road, please? Or she would like come and pick me up or whatever. So I'd go to the library every day. I can still remember the smell of the library and the feel of the books, like on the shelves, and like I would help my auntie stamping books and stuff. Like I used to, like, if my mum was going to be late home from work or like couldn't pick me up or something like that, I would just go to the library and sit with my auntie Lil, and so I got engrossed in reading stuff from the library. She encouraged me to read things from the library, and at one point or several points through the year they would have these reading challenges, and so you had to read like so many books in a week, or so many books in a month, or so many books in a fortnight. I can't remember. There was loads of different ones, and you would get like, I actually have, there was one where I read 10 books in a week, and I got this medal. I've got it, so I do have it somewhere. It is somewhere in one of my jewellery boxes, and it's a blue, like a deep blue ribbon, and it's this like good solid metal, like oval shaped book challenge medal that I got for reading like the maximum amount of books for the time frame. And I literally would just go and I would read, and I would like, you know, I was constantly reading at the library or taking books home. Like I would take home like a stack of books and come back easily, like weekly, to replace the books. So that's what really sort of kicked off my love of reading. I know a lot of people have like a specific series that kicked off their love of reading. For me it was Narnia. Narnia has always been a part of my childhood. Like I say, my granddad had a copy and he used to read it. Like the copy my granddad had was like an old copy. I would read that with my granddad. I would read it on my own. Like I just love Narnia so much. But yeah, so really those library challenges, that challenge part of it, like that pushed me to read, is probably a massive thing in my reading journey. Jay is just finished, and I have just finished Shadow Study, which is the Chronicles of Ixia read-along book for this month, or last month. Shh, you've not read it, shut up. Yeah, so this is the first in the second study trilogy, oh my god, I can't say that, and hopefully we will be doing the live show very soon. K is kinds of books you won't read. For me, that is horror, thriller and crime. Like horror, thriller, crime and mystery books. Horror I just don't really touch. I've got children's horror down there that I read when I was a child, and it's like stuck with me. I have a crip horror that I've just read, which is only really it's a horror thriller type thing. in my Patricia Cornwell, like, I don't do, like, you know, people that read, like, mystery thrillers, your Riley Sager books, your Freya McFadden books, like, all that, not for me. I can't. See, if I open a book and it's, like, detective so-and-so, no. No. If it's horror, if it's scary, no. If it's gruesome, no. No, no, no. No. L is the longest book you've read. I love this question. I love this prompt because people are always going on, not always, there was a period of time where there was discussion around like really long, intimidating books. And everybody was like, oh my god, there's this book that's like 900 and something pages. I remember when Kingdom of Ash came out and people were like, oh my god, it's like 900 and something pages. It's almost 1,000 pages. And I didn't process that at the time because I didn't think, it's really annoying because I never used to think big books were intimidating. But now that people have brought it to my attention that they think it's intimidating, I've taken that on because I feel like I should feel like it's intimidating. Otherwise, I feel like a bad person for not finding it intimidating when other people find it intimidating. It's not emergence. Anyway, but the longest book, and I told this out when this conversation happens, the longest book I have, that is the longest book that I have read, coming in at a whopping 1,412 pages, and that is not the acknowledgements. That's to the end of the actual text of the book. And does it start on page 1? Let us just check. Okay, yeah, it starts on 1. 1,412 pages. This monster, The Fiery Cross by Diana Gabaldon. It is the longest book. It is the longest book in the Outlander series. It has Bible thin pages. Like, I can see the text through. I don't think you can see that because the light's shining off it. But like, I can see the text on the other side of the page. This thing is a monster of a book. It's funny because it doesn't even look the biggest because one of the other books that's shorter has thicker pages, so it looks thicker, but this has the most pages. This thing is an absolute beast, and I read it. And do you know what makes it even funnier? Do you know what just makes it even funnier for me? Is this. That's the start of a new chapter. There are no page breaks for chapters. They start wherever the text ends. There's none of this like starts on the next page nonsense because there's not enough stability in the book for that. Like, this book would be even longer by the time you did that. I mean, how many chapters are in it? So there are 111 chapters, so if we did a new page for each chapter, you would add another 111 at least pages onto this. Like, yeah, this book is a monster. I've read it. Honestly, if you want some advice, if you're sitting there going, Andy, how do you read books like that? Honestly, just start reading and eventually you get to the end of it. That's just how I read. Like, I binged the entire Outlander series, so you can read those thick books. You can do it. M is for major book hangover because of this book. It's one that I think more people should be reading. I think this should be brought into classes, especially in America, although in America currently, in most or a lot of places, this book would be banned. And that is A Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds, illustrated by Chris Priestley. This is a beautiful illustrated edition of this book. I don't know if they're all illustrated or not, and it is a book written in verse. Vicky literally sat on my floor the other day and read this in like half an hour. It is very, very, like, very short, very accessible. But this is one of the most poignant books I've ever read. It is absolutely fantastic. It covers gang violence and gun violence and the ideas of revenge and grief and so much more. I couldn't do this book justice if you paid me. Like, it just you should read this book. Honestly, it is absolutely beautiful. It is beautiful. It is stunning. It is, like I say, poignant. This book, I cannot praise it enough for what it does. And the last sentence in this just rung me like a bell. Like, I felt the vibrations throughout my whole body. And I was just like, and I just sat there and I was like, oh my god. Like, this, it really, you know when something just hits you and you just can't. You just can't. That's what this book did. And honestly, I highly recommend it to everybody. It is, yeah. N is number of bookcases you own. I have 8 bookshelves. Technically 8 bookcases. Sorry if this has changed. I thought I would pick up the phone and try and show you all the bookcases, and that just did not go well. So over here we have like a thin belly bookcase, and then here is one of the full-size ones, and then another full-size one, and then another skinny one, and then over here I have another skinny one and another full-size one, which is just my romance, and then over there I have another full-size one, and then over here behind my laptop I have a half-size one, so like half-size that way, not half-size that way. So that is 8 bookcases. Although in saying that, I do have a Kallax unit outside that has more books in it. So we're going to say 8. 8 actual technical bookcases. O is one book you've read multiple times. I'm a rereader. I'm a voracious rereader. I used to have quite a small collection that filled only one full-size bookcase because I reread so much. That was my collection for so long. And there are multiple books I could pick for this, but I think you probably can guess. If you want to go ahead and guess before I reveal it, go ahead in the comments and guess. But the book I've chosen, and I wish I could show you my paperback, but I've left it downstairs because I'm going to be reading it again this month. Because I actually cracked the spine on that one, and I know, I don't crack the spines, but I've read it so many times that the spine has started to crack. And that is The Martian by Andy Weir. I love The Martian. Everybody knows I love The Martian. This book, if it's not synonymous with me, I need to try harder because I love The Martian. I love everything about this book. It is fantastic. I can't get enough of this, and I really want to go back and tab my other edition. I've underlined stuff, but I've not actually like tabbed. I've written in the margins and stuff, but I've not like tabbed or anything. So yeah, The Martian is definitely one. I mean, there's so many others that I could say. Heartstopper, Percy Jackson. What else have I reread? Narnia, obviously. Loads of times I've reread Narnia. There's, again, there's stuff that there's like the Lindsay Sands books, Discovery of Witches, Hunger Games. There are options, but we're going with The Martian. P is preferred place to read. Why was that so difficult to say? And for me, that is probably in my chair downstairs. I have this massive chair that's like 140 centimetres deep by like 140 centimetres. It is massive. It's technically a cuddle chair. And that's where I do most of my reading. I also really I have a leather chair that you might have seen in previous videos that was Kay's granny's. And it is so comfy. Like, it just like hugs you. And I love reading in that because it just, you can sit in it for ages and I don't get sore. And that is... you don't know how rare that is. Q is a quote that inspires you or gives you all the feels from a book you've read. I hate this. I hate this prompt so much because I could not, for the life of me, remember a single quote from a single book except The Martian. And that's because the first line of that is, I'm fucked. But that's not what the question's asking. So I had to look up like different books that I've read and like books that I remember being particularly poignant to try and find quotes, because I don't like note down quotes and stuff like that. I just don't. So the one I've picked is from Always Only You by Chloe Leese. Now this series follows a family, the Bergman family, and their eventual partners, and this series has a lot of autism representation, there's chronic pain representation, there's various different disabilities. Like, somebody said to Chloe Leese, you can't have that much disability in your books, and she went, hold my beer. This series is just chock full of disabilities, different types of disabilities, different spectrums of disabilities, specifically autism. Like, autism is quite frequent throughout the books and different characters, and they have autism in different ways because people are different. Like, there's female characters who have autism differently from the male characters, and people who have more severe cases where it like interrupts their life a lot more than some people who find it quite mild and find it easier to live day-to-day life with, etc, etc. Like, it just, the spectrum of disability in this throughout the series I think is amazing. Like, it's not obviously perfect, it's not like, but for me, I loved it. And so I picked a quote from Frankie, who is this character here. As you can see, she has a walking stick. She actually has arthritis and is autistic. And so the quote I chose is from her. And it is because I know that having arthritis, being autistic, does not make me less whole or human. It doesn't make me wrong or broken. It makes some things in my life more challenging in ways, yes. And maybe I don't represent the norm, but I can be someone who surmounts obstacles without it meaning there's something fundamentally lacking in my makeup. And that quote, when I saw that, I was like, yes, that was there was two from her. One was about books and how books are comforting, but they don't. I'm just going to find it for you, 2 seconds. Books help me feel a bit more connected to a world that often is hard to make sense of. Books are patient with me. They don't laugh at me instead of with me. They don't ask why I'm always frowning or why I can't sit still. Books welcome me, weirdness and all, and take me exactly as I am. Like, as she says, this character has autism and she also has arthritis. So when you have a chronic pain, I don't have arthritis, but I do have a chronic pain condition that does affect my joints. And I fidget all the time. I can't get comfy. I can never be completely comfortable because, like, right now, the way I'm sitting is pulling on one of my knees. So very soon I'm going to have to move, that's why I was kicking the table, move my leg so that it's not pulling on that knee. Like, my hips are getting a bit sore. So, like, I'll have to shift and, stuff like that. You can't really sit still when you have a chronic pain condition because you can't ever really get comfy. And so you're constantly shifting to try and find a comfier position. Also, a lot of the time with being disabled, as she says, she has autism and arthritis, we're often told that there's something wrong with us or that we're different or, like, it's a whole... If you have a chronic pain condition, if you have a chronic illness, if you have a mental disorder, mental illness, etc, 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 you will understand what I mean. You never really get to feel like you're just normal. Even with people who have the best of intentions, you kind of wish sometimes that people weren't constantly checking back on you to see if you're okay because you wish it wasn't necessary. You wish that people weren't always asking what's wrong with your face because maybe you're just in pain and maybe that's just how your face looks when you're in pain. Like, you wouldn't be, like, sunshiny smiley if you were in pain all the time. Like, that's partially why I have such epic RBF, because I'm constantly in pain. Like, it's just... But yeah, those really resonated with me, so I thought I'd share them. R is reading regret, and for that I've said allowing other people to stop me and allowing kind of myself to stop me sometimes. So when it comes to reading, there's some people who read who have this idea that certain books are better than other books. So a lot of the time you find people who will say that, like, the classics are real literature and something like Heartstopper isn't, or that you can't read middle grade or young adult as an adult, or that you need to read only, very specific things, or that romance novels aren't worth anything. There are so many different opinions out there, and opinions are like arseholes. Everybody has one, but I don't want to see it. And the thing is, I fell into this trap so much. Like I was saying with the big chunky books, I now feel bad if I'm not intimidated by a book because other people are. And I've allowed that to skew how I read. I used to put huge weight. You lie. I still put huge weight on what other people think. So if even one of my friends has a negative opinion on an author, a genre, a book that I'm reading, it deeply upsets me. Like, it's like if I feel like I'm in the wrong somehow. I feel like I'm a bad person, and that sounds really extreme, but that comes along with the type of neurodivergence I have. So, like, I'm really good at, like, fitting myself into how other people want me to be, and I'm still working on not doing that. And it's now sort of, I'm a lot better. I am a lot better, but I feel like I need to appease other people by being the same as them. I think that's just a human thing, but mine takes it a little bit to the extreme. So, like, I feel like if I read something or I like something that my friends don't like, or someone who I look up to says is trash, or, like, they have a moral judgment on it, I feel bad. There is no perfect book in this world, and everybody reads a different book when they read it. And I need to keep reminding myself of that, because I constantly stop myself from enjoying something, or stop myself from reading something because I feel like the judgment I'm going to get is like, it's too overpoweringly negative, if that makes sense. But I also I'm doing it to myself as much as other people are doing it. Like, I didn't want to tell people about the romances I'm reading because I feel like they would judge me based on that. You can't win. If you try and pile on everybody's opinions and judgments and moralities, you are not going to win. And unfortunately, that is something that happens with me, is I pile on and take on everybody's criticism like it's a criticism of me. And sometimes it is. And I just need to not let them stop me, and not let me stop me because of them, if that makes sense. This got a lot deeper than I meant it to. Next is S, and that is a series you started and need to finish, and all the books are out in the series. I genuinely think I've only got a few of these. I don't think, because like Tori, don't let me finish. And that is because, one, I used to binge series a lot, and two, I have a lot of series that I've started that aren't finished. So, one of the series that I have that is finished and that I still need to finish is the Cuba Saga by Chanel Clayton. This is a sort of family epic series that follows different members of this family based around Cuba. So they are Cuban, and in this one, she goes back to Cuba when it's been reopened again. Her family were exiled from Cuba. The other books follow some of the family that were exiled from Cuba, or further back in the family. It's just a whole, it talks about the Cuban resistance and the different Cuban wars. It's just fascinating history. Honestly, absolutely fascinating history that I've never heard about before. And Chanel Clayton does it in such a way that really brings the people to the forefront. And you know I love character-based books, but a lot of these are based on real things that happen to real people. And it really pulls forward parts of history that I think a lot of us don't know about. So yeah, I've got 2 more books to read and that's me finished, so this is your motivation to do it, Andy. T is 3 of your all-time favourite books. Of course you've already seen one, and that is The Martian. I don't think that, if I had to ask people what the top 3 books they associated with me were, I feel like it would be these 3 that I'm about to talk about. So first is The Martian, and then of course we have Heartstopper. Like, it's right there. I absolutely love Heartstopper. I've tabbed this. This is my first time tabbing anything. I love Heartstopper. I've read it several times. I have a Heartstopper tattoo. Of course, we all know I love Heartstopper. Even though I resisted to reading it at first. Yes, I know. I went from like 0 to 60. It was amazing. And then the last one is Percy Jackson and the Olympians. This is one I came to later. I didn't read this until I was in uni, and now have a Percy Jackson tattoo as well, and plan to get a whole sleeve based on Percy Jackson's Greek gods. So like Greek god sleeve, but based specifically on the personalities that Rick Riordan gives them in this world. You know what I mean? So yeah, these are the 3 that I think most people associate with me, and really the 3 that, like, I've got tattoos of these 2 for God's sake. And this one I just love The Martian so much. But yeah, I find this question really hard because I don't know how to pick favourites. U is Unapologetic for, and for that I said romance. I love romance novels, and stuff you if you don't think they're worthy literature, because we're moving past that. Like, I have so many romance novels. Like, there's so much romance, and I have so many more on my TBR, and I plan to continue to read them because we should all be allowed to have fun. Like, I could go on a whole rant about romance novels, but yeah, I am not going to apologise anymore for enjoying romance, and some smutty romance at that. So if that is a problem, don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out. V is very excited for this release more than all the others, and for that I've chosen Heavenly Tyrant. Obviously this is not Heavenly Tyrant, this is Iron Widow, which is the first book. Heavenly Tyrant is the second book, and oh my god, has this taken forever to come out. I've got it pre-ordered. It's supposed to get to us in December. We shall see. I think my lighting just did something funny. Never mind. Yeah, Iron Widow was an incredible book. I was so shocked again that I love this book, and I'm so excited for Heavenly Tyrant. W is Worst Bookish Habit, and I wasn't entirely sure, like, because I'm not somebody that dog ears or like does any of that. No, I don't break spines, like that sort of thing. I don't do that. I don't have a particularly overly large TBR. I couldn't think of, well, I couldn't think of bookish habits for a start. But what I'm going to say is not trying new authors and genres. If you look around my shelves, you will see this is all one author. This is all one author. This is one author, and I've got another set of their books. This is one author. This is one author. I have so many books by the same author. Like, I will buy an author's collection of works. Like, I will stick to the authors that I know I like. I will buy series from authors that I know I like. If they bring out new books, I will buy those books. If you look around my shelves, you will find there's even more like around down there. Like, I stick to what I know. I'm very scared to branch out. And that is for multiple reasons. One, because of the judgment and things like that I was talking about before. And another, I'm going through a little weird renaissance right now where I don't actually know what I like. Like, the books I used to like, I'm picking up and I'm not finding the same passion that I used to have for them. So I'm going through a little bit of a, like, not sure what I like. And instead of, like, embracing it and going out and finding new things to read, I am, like, scared and turning inwards and instead picking up things that I can guarantee I will like. So again, like, authors that I already know are authors that I will like. So yeah, my worst habit is not trying new things, not trying new authors, not trying new genres, not trying to branch out my reading. And I'm trying to make myself do it, but I just can't. It's like, it's hard to force myself to read something that I'm scared of. X marks the spot. Start at the top left of your shelf and pick the 27th book. So I went to the top left shelf here, and the 27th book was The Bear and the Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, which is one of those books that I didn't think I was going to like. And then I read it and I loved it. So, you know, you can do it, Andy. Why is your latest book purchase? For me, that is this copy of The Frontrunner by Elsie Silver. This book came out in 2021. I've read it. It's just they are getting reprints to match the other covers of the other books. So this is the most recent one of that. This is the most recent book to come into this house that I have purchased. So, ta-da. This is the third book in the Gold Rush Ranch series, or the Ruby Creek series. And I'm so excited because, again, Lisa is reading these right now, and she's read this one, but she's not read the last one. But yeah, this is the last thing that came into my house. Z is Snatcher Book, the last book that kept you up way late. And for that, we're going with Daydream by Hannah Grace. This book, I have not related to characters like this in a book for a while. And also, beautiful cover, sprayed edges even. And so I did not want to put this book down. I think I finished this in one sitting, if not two. Like, I maybe stopped to eat. But I devoured this book, and I stayed up way later than I should have to read this book because I just couldn't put it down. I just couldn't. I love this book so much. And again, I watched somebody I really like on YouTube who hated this book, and it deeply, deeply hurts me. Like, I feel like I'm a bad person for loving this book, but you know what? I'm allowed to love this book. Well, that is the AZ book tag. I will link Becca and the original blog down in the description below. And also, tagging people wise, I'm really bad at tagging people. I also can't remember who Becca tagged. So I'm going to tag Lisa and hope that Becca has not tagged Lisa. But again, off the top of my head, cannot remember, and I do not have it pulled up in front of me. If you want to let me know you were here, but you don't want to sit and leave a comment, if you pop in the comments a purple emoji or some kind of Taylor Swift related emoji, I will let you decide on that one, because this girl here, Hallie, massive Swiftie, massive Swiftie. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.